What's up YouTube, Webbers5 here, coming at you today with the update to my Plunder Patrol deck profile, post support from Eternity Code and Master Rule 5. So when it was confirmed that Plunder Patrol was getting more support, I was on the verge of being like, okay, so I know what Konami's like with TCG archetypes. The new support's either going to be really good, or it's gonna suck. Conveniently enough, it was really good. So now we're a really good deck, so I decided to talk about this. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, so starting the profile off, let's go with the Plunder Patrols. So playing 3 Whitebeard, 1 Redbeard, 3 of the new Bluebeard, and 3 of the new Goldenhair. So I've chosen for this ratio as the ones that are at 3 are probably the ones you want to see more, and I find Redbeard, he's good, but to compare him to another card, I'd say he's kind of like Danger Chupacabra, in terms that he's good, but between the rest of the engine, he's the one you least want to see in your opening hand. Furthermore, guys, think about it. If you open Danger Chupacabra with no other dangers in your hand, how good is your Chupacabra? Not very good. It's kind of the same with Redbeard. So what most people know with Plunder Patrols is they get effects if they're sent from field or hand to grave. So Whitebeard has the effect that he can summon a Plunder Patrol from the deck except for himself, so he just goes into one of these. The new Bluebeard has the effect that if he goes to grave, you get to draw. You can discard a card. You discard a card and then draw a card, which is really useful because it then can trigger off some of these and just give you free fodder. Goldenhair, however, she doesn't have an effect. She doesn't have an effect if she's sent. But Goldenhair has the effect that if she's in your hand, you can discard a Plunder Patrol monster to special summon herself. And then so if you do things like sending Redbeard, Whitebeard, or Bluebeard. So if you send one of the other ones, then naturally, you're setting off their effects. And she's got the Graveyard effect, and in the grave, she's got the effect, you can discard a card to special summon her, and unlike other cards that have this effect, she doesn't get banished. However, she does lock you into Plunder Patrols. I forget which effect that's with. Let me just quickly skip that over. Yeah, that's with the Graveyard effect, guys. If you do the Graveyard effect of Goldenhair, you are locked into Plunder Patrols in terms of special summoning, which isn't so bad. But yeah. And then Bluebeard in hand can also special summon itself if you've got a Plunder Patrol. So these two are probably your better normal summons, and then these two make for really good special summon extenders, which is pretty much what the deck needed. So yeah, that's really good. I'm loving it so far. I'm really enjoying the new support so far. Next, going into my extenders. So playing Dangers of 1 Mothman and 1 Jackalope. Don't feel. I would have upped the Danger engine, but 1, I was a bit low on space, and 2, these are pretty much the only ones I kind of feel like I want, because frankly, Mothman, just because he discards. If he gets discarded, then I can try and discard a Plunder Patrol to get its effect off, and if he gets summoned, then he's a level 4, which is useful. Jackalope, just to either attempt to get a summon as an extender, but primarily discard him just to tutor out the Mothman from the deck. And also because of the new Plunder Patrol equip spell, it gives me dark attributes in grave that I can use to tag out into the bigger ships. And then my other extender of choice is 2 copies of Grid Sweeper. So for those who don't know what Grid Sweeper does, Grid Sweeper in hand can special summon itself if you control a field spell, and then has another effect in grave that you can banish it and a link monster you control to destroy a card your opponent controls. So I decided to give a go at using this, since you typically always want your field spell active, which is really good. And even if you don't have your field spell, so many decks are so prominent on field spells right now, so he's pretty much a very easy extender. And then my other reason of playing him, he's a light attribute monster, so with the new equip spell, I can tag out into the new fusion monster, which is really good. But primarily using him as the explained extender, and then also level 4 primarily. Good level, good attribute. So that's it for my extenders. Next, because the deck is primarily a going second build, because naturally with the gimmick of Plunder Patrols basing it on what your opponent's got, it kind of struggles a bit going first, but so going second, playing some hand traps, playing 2 DD Crow and 3 Effect Veiler. So these are just probably some of the better hand traps for the format. There are so many matchups I've won just from doing a DD Crow at the right time against my opponent. And then Effect Veiler is not one. Effect Veiler is not once per turn, so it's just a solid hand trap. And then also my choice in these guys of Light and Dark, so I can tag out into the Plunder Patrols using the Equip spell. I was thinking about playing Ash, but honestly, one, there was the space issue, and also I anticipate that I've seen quite a few people playing Plunder Patrol at the moment on Dueling Book, and frankly, if I play Ash, that's giving my opponent in the mirror match to go into the Synchro really easily, and I really don't want to do that, because naturally this deck is so reliant on its spells and traps for the deck, so I'm not going to give them the easy method of getting their spell and trap removal. So that's it for the monsters I'm playing, guys. Going into the spells, starting off with the Plunder Patrol based spells. Well, Plunder Patrol plays spells plus 1 card. That one. So 1 Terraforming for your 3 Shipyard, which is naturally your searcher of the deck, and then gives all your monsters a big buff. And then 3 of the new Shipping. Try saying that 3 times fast, guys. So what this card does is it lets you do a fusion summon of a fiend monster using materials from your hand or field. So if you do this with your Plunder Patrols, naturally that gets their effects off. So you go to the fusion monster, which will then have been properly summoned. And then it's also got a really useful graveyard effect that you can banish it to equip one of your Plunder Patrols with a Plunder Patrol monster, or the new equip spell Emblem of the Plunder Patrol, which, speaking of which, playing 3 copies of that because this card is absolutely insane. So what Emblem of the Plunder Patrol does, guys, if you haven't seen, is the equip monster gains 500 attack and it becomes immune to being targeted by card effects. Then the second effect of it is you can send it to tag the equip monster out into any Plunder Patrol that shares an attribute with the monster on the field or the graveyard. So this lets you do the effects of the first 2 that we got, Whitebeard and Redbeard, on your turn, and you get to use attributes from your graveyard as well, which is really useful, hence why I'm playing the hand traps and those specific extenders. So that's pretty useful to have, and frankly it's just a really good. And then also the monster that tags out gets the additional effect that the equip monster gains 500 attack points, so that's just giving your monster a bit more of a buff. And then other spells I'm playing, just three 1-ofs, because these cards are at 1. Monster Reborn, to get extra plunders on field. Raigeki, we're going second deck, so I thought I'd throw in the board wipe. And then Mind Control, again, just going second option. That's it for the spells. Moving into the traps. So playing 3 Plunder Patrol Booty, so this one lets you alter the attribute of an opponent's monster, then you can take a Plunder Patrol from your graveyard and either special summon it or shuffle it into the deck. So that's really useful for attribute manipulation, so you can tag out easily. This is probably, on the off chance that you have to go fast, this is probably one of the cards you're probably going to want to search with the field spell. The other one being the new continuous trap card, Pride of the Plunder Patrol. So this card has the effect that if a Plunder Patrol destroys a monster by battle, you get to draw a card, which is pretty nice. The deck could use a bit of draw power. And then it's also got a good secondary, and then its secondary effect is really useful, particularly if you're going first, so you can do it on your opponent's turn to help manipulate your setup. So it's got the effect that if you control a Plunder Patrol, you can send it to the graveyard to either make your opponent draw 1 card, then you get to look at their hand and discard 1 card from it, or you can look at your opponent's extra deck and send a monster from their extra deck to the graveyard. So it's a good way to scope out what your opponent's playing and set yourself up for a Plunder Patrol extra deck monster of your choice. And then the last card in the deck, 2 copies of Plunder Patrol Party. So Party, its first effect is like Phantasme, but for Plunder Patrol equip cards. So you draw cards equal to the number of Plunder Patrol equips you've got plus 1, then you shuffle back into the deck equal to the number, then you shuffle cards from your hand into the deck equal to the number of equip cards you control. So if you're set up quite easy, so if you set up quite a bit, you can draw a decent amount of cards, then get rid of them. So this is a good option to try and like draw into your hand traps as well if you're maining them. And then Party also has a second effect that's in the grave that if you special summon a Plunder Patrol from the extra deck while it's in your graveyard, you can equip this card to it, and then with the effect that the equipped monster gains 500 attack. However, this effect can only be used once per duel, which is fair, which is quite fair considering what the card's capable of doing. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Going into the extra deck, play 3 copies of Blackbeard. So Blackbeard naturally lets you. He's got the quick effect that lets you tag out Plunder Patrols on your opponent's. That lets you tag out a Plunder Patrol into an extra deck monster and then draw a card. This card's got a serious buff with the new Fusion monster, which I'll get to in a moment. Then the other link monster I'm playing, One Nightmare Phoenix. Just back removal and gives me a fire attribute monster for tagging out into the synchro. Xyz playing 3 Moark. So Moark has the effect to. So Moark lets you discard a Plunder Patrol to banish a monster. Then you get to search a Plunder Patrol spell or trap. And it's a quick effect if he's equipped with a Plunder Patrol card, which is really useful. He's also got an interesting second effect that you can detach a material from him to prevent a Plunder Patrol from being to prevent Plunder Patrol cards being destroyed, which is pretty useful, but it doesn't come up too frequently because if you tag it out by the in-deck method, it's not going to have any Xyz materials. But still pretty good. But still very useful. And then the last Xyz I'm playing, One Abyss Dweller. You're all water attribute monsters, so gives them all a bit, gives them additional buff, and naturally Dweller's just so good as a card. Synchros, 3 Plunder Patrol ship Bran. So Bran's effect gives all other Fiend monsters a 500 buff, which is pretty good. Doesn't do himself, but he's got the highest attack of all the Plunder Patrols, so it's fine. And then Bran's got a similar style effect as Moark, but in reverse, so discard 1 to banish a spell or trap, and then search for a monster, which is pretty good. So yeah, Bran's really insane, and I find now that we've got the addition of Golden Hair, it's really easy to be able to synchro summon into this quite easily as well. And also got one other synchro monster in here. This I thought of after I read it, after checking out some Plunder Patrol builds. I'm playing 1 Adamanticipator Risen Dragite. So this is a generic level 8 synchro, and Dragite has the effect. Once per turn, if you've got a water attribute monster in your graveyard, if your opponent activates a spell card, trap card, or the effective one, you can negate that effect and destroy the card, which is pretty useful considering your main deck is entirely water attribute monsters. And it's also got 3000 attack, which isn't terrible. And then its first effect can be useful, I suppose, if you felt like, again, because we're going second deck, if you felt like maining Nibiru, could be useful if you choose to do that. Because of its first effect, which I haven't really read because I don't main Nibiru, but you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and then return cards your opponent controls to the hand up to the number of excavated rock monsters. So Nibiru is a rock, so that's a potential option, if you felt like it. And then the last card in the extra deck, 3 of the new Plunder Patrol ship Lease. So Lisa is generic in terms of summoning, just needs 2 Plunder Patrol monsters, or naturally you could just tag out like they do. So Lisa has the effect that during the main phase you can special summon a Plunder Patrol from your hand or from your spell and trap zone. And that's a quick effect as well, so if your Plunder Patrol cards and if your Plunder Patrol monster equips are being threatened, you can just go effect of Lise to special summon it. And then Lisa's second effect is you can just, as a quick effect, you can discard a Plunder Patrol to negate your opponent's monster effect and destroy it. And then it also gets an effect if it's equipped, which is it lets you add any Plunder Patrol card, which is pretty useful. One of the reasons this deck's gotten so better is because of how well Lise works in combination with Blackbeard. So if you've got your field of if you've got Blackbeard on the field and you've got Lise and something equipped to it, you can go in your main. If say you've used up your thing for Lise, you can just go effective Lise, special summon one of my Plunder Patrol, special summon a Plunder Patrol in your own turn. Go to battle phase, attack with the monster that was equipped that you summoned, and then still in the battle phase you can go effective Blackbeard, target the monster that you summoned from your spell and trap zone, tag it out into something else, and then attack with that as well, which is really useful. But simultaneously, if you're going to do it like that, you're probably going to go special summon, battle phase, attack with the monster you summoned, effect, see if you can tag it out into something first, because if you can tag it out into, say, Bran, you're going to give your monsters another buff you're going to give your monsters another buff as well, which is pretty good. So yeah guys, as you can see, the new support is really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this deck does to the meta. Okay guys, so that's the update to my Plunder Patrols. Hope you all enjoyed it. Leave a comment down in the description below of what you thought about it, and if you enjoyed the video, like it as always. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And for those who also know about my group channel, Team Sorcerers, feel free to subscribe to them as well. Thank you so much for watching guys, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Webbers5, and if you're already subscribed, feel free to hit that notification bell so that you never miss an upload.